Alright guys, welcome back to the shop. So with a day out of the shop, not working on the bed frame whatsoever, I think I figured out the solution to installing our barrel bolts. So like I said in the last video, when I put the bolt in here, I don't really have a good way of telling what angle it's going at because it's a fairly short thing and you need the bolt set pretty far into the hole to actually judge the angle and all that. But when I used that little piece of dowel to help plug our hole so the epoxy couldn't come running out, I thought that if I just stuck a dowel into this hole, that would actually give me a very obvious direction of which way my bolt is going. That way I can very easily take a straight edge like the ruler here, line it up with the center of my dowel, and I can mark my actual line. And I can see the exact angle that that hole is gonna go on because the dowel kind of over exaggerates everything. So I'm gonna use that technique to re-drill this hole and to do all of our other ones. So I think the best way to do about doing this is gonna be to start by drilling our 3/8 hole using all of the laser guides and all that kind of stuff to try and get it as accurate as possible. Then all we need to do is put the dowel in to figure out what angle or what trajectory the actual drill took. And then we can use that to mark our line that we'll then use for placement of the brass barrel nut. Stinks. Oh, that smells horrible. Oh. Okay, so after much cursing and swearing that I luckily did all off camera, the first leg is fit on. So this is the headboard leg on the left side rail. And so the problem that I ran into is the bed bolt and all that, this whole, what we were actually working on went together just fine. But when I went to put the leg on, I realized that I didn't actually check the fit when I fit it up. I just removed material so that the leg fit on. I didn't actually pay attention to the gaps on the front and the back. So I had to go back in and readjust those dowels because our part was completely twisted out of whack. So I think that was just me being tired and stupid on whatever day I did that and not paying attention to what I was doing. Luckily, I went around and checked the other three sides. They're all just fine. So this is obviously the last one I did and I was just not paying attention. So it's all tuned up now and there's no wiggle or any play to it when the bolt's out of there. And as soon as we put the bolt in, this is a nice solid connection. So the one thing I will say is that this style of bed bolt is not, it's not my favorite. It's nothing to do with the actual quality of it. I think it's just fine, but it is a little bit on the finicky side, I would say, more so than like the bolts that we put on the last bed where they're just going into a standard nut that I managed to have, pretty well jammed in place and locked in place. This little barrel nut is a little bit finicky. You do have to have the flathead screwdriver. You have to kind of guide it where you want it to be to get the bolt seated. So overall, I wouldn't say that it's the best option out there. Again, I don't have any issue having it on this bed, selling it to a customer. It's not a problem. It's just one of those cases that I think there may be better options in the market. Again, the ones we did before, probably not the right way to do it either because that was pretty rough. I said in the last bed frame project, and I'll say it again, I think that Horton Brasses does make the best bed bolts that I've seen on the market. For me, they're too expensive to get up here and to use. So I would have used those on both of these projects, but yeah, it's far too expensive. And so now all we have left to do is the other three sides. We just got to get the rest of those barrel nuts installed and the bolt holes, all that drilled. So the first one always takes a really long time. The other ones after that should go pretty quick. So we're just gonna kind of roll through them and get them done as efficiently as possible, if that is even a thing you can do when working with hard maple at this point.
In case you're wondering, the drill is at the completely wrong angle here.
Okay, so when I say quite literally everything that could possibly go wrong in this project is gonna go wrong, I just burst through the front side of our panels here with the drill. Now, I was taking my time, I was following the lasers as best as I possibly could because I was very afraid that that was going to happen. I even took it very slow when I started realizing my bit was getting close because I wanted to make sure, because I know there's no need for the bit to go into this panel at all. There's no need for it to get anywhere near here. So I was backing it off and it seemed just fine, but apparently, even though I overestimated how much depth I needed with the drill bit, I still ended up punching through. I want to be done with this project so badly. I'm at a point now where I want to give the customers their money back and I don't ever want to look at another piece of maple again. But the problem is I already spent all the money that they already paid me on wood. So I can't particularly give them the money back when I have all this wood and most of a bed frame sitting here. That being said, I also can't afford to redo this whole side rail because of this. So I think that it can be fixed. I think I can jerry-rig a little bit of a patch in there. But I have to say, I am so done with this project. I have never hated a single project nearly as much as I hate this bed frame right at the moment. But anytime it's something like this, where it's like it's a new customer, it's someone I want to try and impress, everything goes wrong. Everything that can go wrong will go wrong. That is Murphy's Law at its finest, and I'm so sick of this. So very sick of it. What I really need right now is I just need to take like a weekend off, not work on the project. But I also can't do that because I wanted to be done this on Monday, which is, tomorrow for you guys. It's not happening. I wanted to have finish on it on Monday, let it sit for a week. That was the goal. That is not going to happen because I am so far behind schedule. I'm going to try and see what I can do to fix this. It's going to be a very delicate, almost surgical fix.
Again, the laser level is clearly off the line. It's supposed to be on here and not at all straight, so I don't know what I was quite doing at this point in time. But luck was on my side with this hole because nothing serious happened because of the angle it was at. But finally I learned to take the time to actually set up the laser levels properly, and this resulted in a much straighter, much better hole overall.
Okay, so I haven't finished drilling all the holes yet. I still have that one that we messed up on initially where I blew out the front side. I have to finish that one off, but I want to talk through the step-by-step process of this that I've figured out that actually works, and the solution that I've had to a lot of my issues, which we'll go over in just a second here. So the first thing you're going to want to do is start by putting your holes in your legs, because you need to take all your references off of here, obviously, because that's a very hard thing to adjust. So you're going to start by putting a 3/8 hole in here on the drill press, just like you guys saw me do. Then you're going to use a brad point bit to pass the mark from this hole onto your side rails here. When that's done, you can then enlarge this hole to 7/16 of an inch. I'm only referencing the bed bolts that I'm using here from Lee Valley, which are using a 3/8 bolt. If you have a 7/16 brad point bit, start by drilling a 7/16 hole and then just pass it through with that same brad point bit. That just, whichever way is a little bit easier there for you. Then once you have that hole marked on your side rails, then you're gonna go through and drill your 3/8 hole. Now you wanna use a 3/8 hole here because that way when you put the bolt in, it'll sit at a very precise angle. It'll perfectly fit into that hole. Then you can leave the bolt slightly extended and you can mark the trajectory that your bolt is taking, because there's no way, unless you have like a really fancy drilling guide, that you're gonna drill a perfectly straight hole in here. The laser guides do help a lot, but as you guys have seen, they're nowhere near perfect. Then you're gonna mark out the location for your big 5/8 hole that's gonna hold your barrel nut. Then the important thing here is you're gonna go back in, and the hole that you drilled, that initial hole that you drilled to 3/8 of an inch, you're gonna go back in and enlarge it to 7/16. What this will do is it'll give your bolt just a hair of wiggle room. So if your barrel nut is just a little bit too high, a little bit too low, stuff like that, it gives the bolt enough room to move around that it can bite in. Now, initially when I was trying to figure out how to do this, I was using my brad point bit, I was using my older one, and I was just wiggling it around because sometimes that'll slightly enlarge the hole. That's a really bad thing to do. It's bad for your bits, it's bad for your drill, it's all around just not a great thing to do. But it's super easy to just throw a twist bit in your drill to just enlarge that hole just slightly, just by a 1/16 of an inch, and that gives it just enough play. As soon as I did that on this sub rail that I've got in front of me here, I had no issues putting the bolts into the barrel nuts. They go in no issue every single time. Before I did that, I had to very touchy with the screwdriver, try and sneak that barrel nut into just the perfect position where I could then put the bolt in. So definitely the final step is going to be enlarging that hole to 7/16, or just slightly larger than your actual bed bolt size. That will solve so many issues. So now this side rail is completely done. It's ready to go. Both the legs on it fit up beautifully. They sit nice and flush. Everything, I believe, on the right side here is ready to go. Okay, so from bad to worst to just downright bloody annoying. I put the hole in on the side that we needed to repair, and I didn't think of the repercussions of the fact that our hole is going at enough of an angle to come out the front of the panels on the outside, means that there's no way we can get our barrel bolt in deep enough without punching through the front face of these pieces to make things line up. So what I'm gonna have to do here is another epoxy patch. We're gonna try and start completely from scratch in this whole area. I'm gonna stand this side rail up vertically, tape over the hole here, and then I'm gonna pour the epoxy down the bolt hole. That way it should soak in and fill in this area completely. Overall, I am optimistic that I should be able to get this thing done by the end of next week. So we'll have to see how things go overall, but you guys will get to see the progress as it happens on a day-by-day basis. So as always, guys, I do hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.